today I have a couple topics that I thought it could be fun to talk about. One of them is synchronicities. So you may only be able to get what I'm talking about if you see synchronicities in your life. It's been a little while since I've posted a podcast episode. I actually recorded one about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, but I didn't post it because I don't know, it was kind of a rant instead of a ramble. But yeah, I don't know. But anyways, I am somebody who sees a lot of synchronicities in my everyday experience of reality. So in case you didn't know, a synchronicity is defined as the simultaneous occurrence of events which appear significantly related but have no discernible causal connection. And a lot of people know about angel numbers, like seeing 222 or 555, and those are definitely a really common synchronicity. But it could also be just hearing repeated phrases or just coincidences that are so specific that it seems intentional, but it has no way of being connected. So it can be a really magical thing to experience, especially if you are interested in reality creation, manifestation, whatever you want to call it. When you start seeing more and more synchronicities, that typically is a positive thing. It's showing that you are aligned and everything is kind of flowing right on beat as it should. But synchronicities are not only positive. So I was thinking about this yesterday in the shower, and the image that came to mind was like a rope swing over a river. So I kind of think of synchronicities as that little rope that can bring you across the river to the other riverbank. And if you are focused on positive synchronicities, so for me personally, I have specific numbers that I assign meanings to, and they're all positive meanings, and that's intentional. I kind of use them as anchor points. So what usually will happen is I will start noticing a set of numbers in my external reality. I might start seeing these numbers everywhere, like on a mailbox, on a license plate, on a billboard, on a phone number, anywhere where there's numbers. and a barcode, whatever. And I make up my own meaning for what that specific set means. And so every time I see that number again, it triggers my mind to say what it means. So, like for example, I have a certain number that means trust the process for me. And so whenever I see that number out in the world or on my phone, or I especially love it when it's like so random and specific, like in the most unexpected places. Whenever I see that number, I just remind myself to trust the process, and I just relax. And so in that way, I'm using that number, that synchronicity, to swing across the river into a riverbank that represents a more trusting, relaxed, hopeful state of mind. And I'm doing that intentionally. And, I use numbers and phrases and different things in ways like that to help me go into the directions that I desire. And different, I'll have different kind of themes for different times of my life. And so it's a really positive thing, especially when, I'm having a bad day or I'm feeling sad, and then all of a sudden, some synchronicity happens. And, it can also be like somebody happens to say the exact right thing at the right time. And for me, I just get this like tingling in my ears, and I just feel like it's kind of like an ASMR feeling. I just get tingles from my ears, down my neck, and down my shoulders to my fingers. And if I'm alone, like in the car, I might just make a little high-pitched excitement noise. But I find that it really elevates my energy and my excitement for the day. So yeah, that's great. And I think as you start to notice synchronicities, it's really beneficial to, one, always interpret them positively, because there's no benefit to interpreting them negatively. That's like if you have all of these rope swings and all of these riverbanks, and you can take the rope swing to the desired riverbank, or you could take it to a riverbank that sucks and that you don't want to go to. Why would you do that? You are the one that applies your momentum to the rope swing, and it's just a tool that will take you in whatever direction you are moving towards. So, yeah, at the beginning of noticing synchronicities, I would just focus on positive ones, and that was fantastic. Now, there is such a thing as negatively charged synchronicities. There are rope swings that can bring you to a riverbank that sucks, okay? And the best thing to do is, if you can turn while holding the rope and use it to go in a more positive direction, so you can change the meaning of that synchronicity. For example, the number 666. For a lot of people, especially religious people or superstitious people, 666 can be a scary number. For me, I have assigned a positive meaning to it. So whenever I see 666, I'm using that where I could be using it to get into a negative mindset and be all creeped out and like, oh no, like, is the devil nearby? Like, I'm scared. But I don't do that because that's not the meaning that I imbue that number with. I see it as something positive, and so when I see that number, I turn in the direction that I want to go in and I swing with it. So that's one option. So if you keep seeing something that might historically have a negative meaning, like some people think when you see a black cat and it walks across your path, it's bad luck, you can replace that meaning with something different. Black cats can have many meanings, so pick a positive one, and then from now on, whenever you see a black cat, think of the positive meaning. So that's one option. And then there are also synchronicities that are hooks. In a way, they all are. They're kind of like little anchors, anchoring you into a narrative. It's like confirmation bias. If you think that a certain group of people is one type of way, for example, let's just say men. Let's say that you think that men are all mean, then you're gonna notice every time a man does a mean thing, and that's going to confirm your bias towards them. And it anchors in that story deeper and deeper into your belief system, and it feels truer and truer to you because you notice the evidence every day, which locks it in, and before you know it, your reality is filled with that evidence. And so that's fine if you're doing that for a belief that benefits you, but a lot of the time people do that without realizing, and they accidentally are anchoring in beliefs that do not benefit them and that actually go against the reality that they desire to exist within. So the way around that is not to avoid it, it's just to neutrally notice the experience, but don't allow it to anchor in. Like if it was a rope swing, don't grab onto that and swing across. Instead, you can notice the rope swing, notice the riverbank it's offering to bring you across to, and politely decline. That doesn't mean that the rope swing doesn't exist. It just means that you are leaving it as an observation and you are not giving your momentum to it to be carried over to whatever reality that riverbank represents. So I've noticed that more and more, especially as I, am more, like I've been on this journey for a longer amount of time. I've noticed that I have more options when it comes to what I choose to believe, And a lot of the times when you are letting go of old belief systems, you might notice that there are more hooks than ever trying to anchor you back in to what you used to believe. And so it can be tricky, especially if you are if you're always noticing patterns. You might feel this need to take in all of the information and organize all the patterns and then just believe whatever the pattern is telling you. But that's when you need to use discernment. And sometimes, especially when it comes to synchronicities, you just have to let it go. Or wait until you have a more obvious answer. Basically, whatever you want to believe, whether that's what you really want or what you are afraid of, or what your past experiences have told you is true, you might be given opportunities to confirm that story. And it might not be factual. It might be in the form of synchronicities. And that's why discernment is so important, because synchronicities are neutral. They're not inherently good or bad. You can use them as tools that bring you closer or further away from your desired outcomes. And I think, Superstition is a good example of that. A lot of people, especially in the olden days, were super superstitious, and that sometimes would lead to the negative outcomes that they were afraid of, because their belief fed into it and made it become a real phenomenon. I don't know. But the same can be said true for the opposite. If you use synchronicities in a positive way and you allow them to lead you into a more positive state of mind, they can be a constant reminder of how good things can get. And they can feel like just a little hug from, the universe or whatever you believe in. So that's something I've been thinking about lately, and it's kind of hard to talk about because I know it's very esoteric, and I don't know, for me, that's something that I think about and talk about with people in real life and notice a lot. Like, that's one of my favorite things ever, synchronicities. And so it's weird because it's like, I want to talk about it here, but again, it seems like a weird thing, and it's hard to explain, I guess. But let me know if you are into that too. And sometimes the universe or God or a higher power will reveal information that you might need. For example, a while back, there was a person that I was interested in romantically, but I felt a lot of anxiety about the connection, and so I asked the universe, if this person is not good for and literally an hour later, I was scrolling on Facebook and I saw a post about that person, kind of exposing the way that they were interacting with other women in a really rude, disrespectful way. And that person had never acted like that towards me, so I would have never known that that's who they truly are unless I had seen that post an hour after I asked for that information. And so stuff like that is really good, but the other side of that is sometimes your fears can create projections. So if you're afraid of something happening, you might make up a story that is possible, but also there's no evidence for it. And then you might start seeing synchronicities related to that story, like a repeated name, a repeated location, or repeated things. And that's not evidence, that's just your projections being played out externally. And so in those moments, it's good to use that discernment and ask, if there is evidence, or if this is a real issue, please, show me, universe. And then if it's not, then I have to be aware of my own fears playing out in my reality, and I can choose to opt out of those old stories, because it's just a continuation of old drama being played out on a new stage, but it only will happen if you opt in. So anyways, yeah, I hope I'm doing a good job of explaining this, because it's hard. A lot of it requires context, and I have no idea if I've provided the correct context, so if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. But yeah, I think that's why it's hard for me to do rambles sometimes, because it's like, I have a lot to talk about, but it's also so layered with prior information and prior context, and I guess I have a hard time with taking things out of their context and explaining just the correct segment, because to me everything is interwoven. And so it's like, I don't know, I kind of feel like it's hard to have standalone information without knowing everything before that and everything after that. But I'm going to do my best to make rambles sometimes and just try to explain it and then see if anyone understands. But yeah, that's what I've been thinking about lately. And yeah, I'm just focusing on opting out of old stories, noticing where my negative beliefs might be trying to hook me back in and prove negative things that I no longer subscribe to. And again, that does not mean avoiding information. You can notice softly. You can notice the rope swing, but you don't have to swing on it. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I love signs, I love synchronicities, but I am also the one who gets to decide at the end of the day. And that, I think, is extremely important. If you are spiritual or religious, you have to know that at the end of the day, yourself.